2 pubs close every single day in Britain. And yet, scattered across this country, carved into cliffs and hidden down cobbled lanes, a handful of pubs have survived for over 600 years. Places where crusaders drank before sailing to war, where kings hid from their enemies, where men were hanged from the rafters. Today, we are visiting 10 of them. Let us begin in Nottingham, at the foot of Castle Rock. Your older trip to Jerusalem sits carved into the sandstone cliff beneath Nottingham Castle. The building rests against the rock itself, attached to several caves that were reputedly used as a brewhouse for the castle during the medieval period. Low ceilings, walls of raw stone, the weight of the cliff above pressing down on everything. The pub claims a founding date of 1189, the year Richard the Lionheart became king and Pope Gregory VIII called for the Third Crusade. Crusaders and pilgrims supposedly stopped here on their journey to the Holy Land. Even the name carries this story. Trip does not mean the journey itself. It means a stop along the way. Now, the reality check. No documentary evidence supports that 1189 date. The caves are believed to date from around 1067, when the castle was founded. But the oldest parts of the present building are generally dated to between 1650 and 1660. So the cave brewery is genuinely ancient, the pub above it less so. What you will find inside is remarkable regardless. A speaking tube runs from the castle down through the rock to the brewhouse below, where orders for ale could be placed centuries ago. And in one of the upstairs rooms sits a small model of a wooden ship known as the Cursed Galleon. The story goes that several people who cleaned it met untimely and unexplained deaths. Landlords have since refused to let anyone touch it. The ship now sits sealed inside a glass cabinet, gathering dust that nobody dares disturb. Travelling southwest to Somerset, the George Inn in Norton St Philip holds what may be the strongest claim of any pub on this list. Not the oldest building, not the oldest site, the oldest purpose-built inn in England still serving customers today. The George was created by the Carthusian monastery at nearby Hinton Charterhouse. The priory had been founded in 1232. The monks were granted the manor of Norton St Philip and obtained rights to hold fairs for wool trading. Merchants and travellers needed somewhere to stay, and so the inn was born. Dendrochronology carried out by the Somerset Building Research Group dated the roof timbers to 1431. The building has been scientifically dated. No legends required, but the history held within these walls runs darker. In 1685, the Duke of Monmouth used the George as his headquarters during the Monmouth Rebellion after retreating from Bath. When the rebellion failed, Judge Jeffreys arrived. He turned the inn into a courtroom and conducted 12 executions on the village common. The Bloody Assizes. Samuel Pepys had passed through in 1668. The inn has seen diarists and executioners, rebels and judges, and it is still standing, still serving. They were winners of AA Inn of the Year at the 2025 Hospitality Awards. 600 years of service, and they are still collecting trophies. Crossing into East Sussex, the Mermaid Inn sits on a cobbled street in the ancient town of Rye. Mermaid Street is one of the most photographed streets in England. Half-timbered buildings lean toward each other across the narrow lane. The cellars of the Mermaid date back to 1156, which is believed to be the year the original inn was established. The building visitors see today was largely reconstructed in 1420, but the cellars are Norman. The bones of this building are older than the face. The Mermaid is famous for its ties to the Hawkhurst gang of smugglers, who used the inn as one of their strongholds during the 1730s and 1740s. These were not petty criminals. The Hawkhurst gang controlled smuggling routes across Kent and Sussex and were known for extreme violence against anyone who interfered. They would sit in the Mermaid openly cleaning their weapons, daring the locals to report them. Nobody did. Secret passages run through several rooms, hidden compartments and concealed doorways. According to local accounts, The ghosts of smugglers and their mistresses still walk the corridors at night. Whether you believe that or not, sitting in the Mermaid after dark with the fire burning and the ancient timbers creaking above you, it is easy to understand why people do. North now to Bolton in Greater Manchester. Ye Old Man and Scythe is a Grade II listed pub on Church Gate. The earliest recorded mention of its name appears in a charter from 1251, making it one of the 10 oldest public houses in Britain. The name comes from the crest of the Pilkington family, which features a reaper using a scythe. The pub has been rebuilt at least once. A date stone inside reads 1636. Only the vaulted cellar remains from the original structure. But the history of this place is written in something heavier than stone. In 1651, James Stanley, the 7th Earl of Derby, was executed outside the Man and Scythe for his role in the Bolton Massacre. The massacre, sometimes called the Storming of Bolton, was one of the most devastating events of the English Civil War. Royalist forces stormed and captured the town, slaughtering an estimated 1,600 people. The Earl was tried, found guilty, and taken from the pub to meet his end. Inside, a wooden chair still sits where the Earl of Derby is said to have rested before being led outside to be beheaded. An inscription carries the date and time. You can stand beside it today and order a pint. The chair is not roped off. It is simply there, part of the furniture, carrying the weight of a man who sat in it, knowing he would never stand again. South to Buckinghamshire. The Royal Standard of England near Beaconsfield is famously associated with a history stretching back to the Norman conquest, with local law linking its origins to land recorded in the Domesday Book of 1086. If true, that makes this one of the very few pubs whose age is recorded in the most famous census in English history. The name changed thanks to Charles II, who frequently met his mistresses in the rooms above the pub. He granted the landlord permission to rename the establishment to the Royal Standard of England. His father, Charles I, had hidden in a priest hole in the roof during the Civil War. Two kings, father and son, both used this building. One to hide, one to conduct affairs of an entirely different kind. Today, the Royal Standard is a popular filming location, recognizable from productions including Hot Fuzz, The Theory of Everything, and Midsummer Murders. The beams are low, the fireplaces are enormous, and if you look carefully at the ceiling, you can still find the outline of the priest hole, where a king once hid from his enemies. Crossing the border into Scotland, the Sheephide Inn in Duddingston, Edinburgh, is the oldest surviving public house in Scotland. There has reputedly been an inn on this site since 1360. The village of Duddingston sits at the foot of Arthur's Seat, with Holyrood Park stretching above it, and the crags of the ancient volcano rising against the sky. The name tells its own story. From the medieval period, sheep were reared in Holyrood Park and slaughtered in Duddingston before being taken to the flesh market in Edinburgh's Old Town. There being no great demand for the heads, the locals became renowned for cooking them. A practical people. In 1580, King James VI of Scotland presented the landlord with an ornate ram's head snuff box. Duddingston sits exactly halfway between the royal residences of Craigmillar Castle and Holyrood Palace, and James was said to have stopped here many times to play skittles in the courtyard. His mother, Mary Queen of Scots, was also a patron. 2 generations of Scottish royalty favoured this pub, and the snuff box remained on site for 300 years before being sold at auction to the Earl of Rosebery. The Skittles Alley still survives, built around 1880, reputedly the last of its kind in Scotland. Robert Burns drank here. Robert Louis Stevenson drank here. In 2016, Queen Elizabeth II made a surprise visit for lunch after a day at a local racetrack. If it was good enough for the late Queen, it is good enough for anyone. Into Wales now, and the mood changes. The Skirrid Mountain Inn stands in the small village of Llanfihangel Croconi, roughly 4 miles north of Abergavenny in Monmouthshire. It looks out onto the Skirrid Mountain to the east and the Black Mountains to the west. Beautiful country, with darkness beneath. Archaeological work by the Glamorgan-Gwent Archaeological Trust concluded that the present building is mainly of mid to late 17th century construction. But the theory persists that an inn had stood on the site much earlier, due to its position on a pilgrim trail leading to Llanthony Priory. The legends are what make this pub extraordinary. Owain Glyndwr is said to have personally rallied his troops in the cobbled courtyard before raiding nearby settlements, sympathetic to the English in the 15th century. And then there is the hanging beam. A large oak beam still runs across one of the main rooms. Accused criminals were supposedly tried on the spot and, if found guilty, hanged immediately from that timber. The broader historical practice is sound. Executions were public by design. Justice was meant to be seen. Gallows were placed where people gathered. Whether this specific beam held the weight of condemned men, nobody can prove beyond doubt. But the rope marks are there. Draw your own conclusions. Now we enter the territory of the truly contested claims. The pubs where the dates on the wall require more than a pinch of salt. Ye Old Fighting Cocks in St Albans calls itself the oldest pub in England. It claims a date of 793. That date first appeared on an early 20th century postcard and is not based on any historic records. The truth is more interesting than the myth. The octagonal structure began life as a dovecote around 1400, originally standing at a nearby monastery. The entire timber frame was then moved and reassembled as a domestic house on the present site around 1600. It was known as the Three Pigeons in 1756 and was serving beer as the Fighting Cocks by 1807. Locals believe tunnels connect the cellar to St Albans Cathedral, once used by monks. The building is genuinely old. Whether it has been a pub for as long as it claims is another matter entirely. But sit in that octagonal room with a pint and tell yourself it does not feel ancient. You will be lying. To West Yorkshire. The Bingley Arms in Bardsey near Leeds calls itself the oldest pub in Britain, with a history dating back to somewhere between 905 and 953. The claims are bold. The evidence is thin. The current stone building dates from the 18th century, and no formal historic study supports those earlier dates. The Bingley Arms served as both a pub and a place of refuge for travelling monks. It was once called the Priest's Inn and was used as a hiding place for Catholic priests threatened by the dissolution of the monasteries in 1536. The features that survive are genuine, even if the founding date is debatable. An inglenook fireplace, a 17th century Dutch oven once used for baking bread, priest holes still visible in the chimney, used to conceal men during the persecution of Catholics under Queen Elizabeth I, and in the beer garden, a yew tree that predates the pub itself. Whatever the true founding date, the tree was there first. We end in the Cotswolds. The Porch House in Stow-on-the-Wold is authenticated by the Guinness Book of Records as England's oldest inn, certified as dating from 947. This is the one with the science behind it. Parts of the building were once a hospice built by order of Ethelmar, Duke of Cornwall. In the 1970s, during renovations, timbers from the building were carbon dated to roughly 1,000 years of age. That confirms the claim. A 16th century stone fireplace inside carries ancient inscriptions, witch marks, carved into the stone to ward off evil and protect those within. The honest caveat is this: the Porch House did not become a pub until the 1700s, when it opened as the Eagle and Child. An ancient building it certainly is, but its life as a drinking establishment is considerably shorter than its life as a structure. Some would say that disqualifies it. Others would say the walls do not care what name hangs above the door. You can walk in today. Sit by that fireplace with the witch marks carved into the stone. Drink a pint in a space whose foundations trace back to an era when the newly unified Kingdom of England was still finding its footing. The oldest timbers have been tested, the dates hold up, and the fire still burns in a hearth that Saxon hands built over 1,000 years ago. Every pub on this list tells a slightly different story about itself than the evidence strictly supports. Myths and legends grow around old pubs like ivy around ancient stone. Over centuries, the stories become so deeply woven into the fabric of these places that separating fact from folklore becomes nearly impossible. And that blending is exactly why the question of the oldest pub in Britain gets so wonderfully contentious. But here is the thing that gives all of this urgency. Britain lost over 2,000 pubs in the 5 years since the pandemic began. The total number fell from 46,829 in 2020 to just 44,656 by the end of 2025. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, 161 more closed. That is almost 2 every single day. Rising costs, higher taxes, cautious customers staring at prices on the menu and deciding to stay home instead. £1 in every 3 spent in a pub now goes straight to tax. Some operators are keeping as little as 3 pence of profit for every pound that crosses the bar. The economics are brutal, and every closure takes something irreplaceable from the community it served. The pubs on this list have survived plagues, civil wars, rebellions, reformations, and world wars. They survived the Blitz and the smoking ban and the rise of the supermarket lager deal. Whether they can survive what is happening right now is a question worth asking. But honestly, the best thing any of us can do is simple. Walk through the door, order a pint, sit by the fire. These buildings have endured for centuries because people kept showing up. They kept choosing the pub over staying home. They kept the fire burning and the conversation going and the taps flowing.